is said that it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. But when you lose a loved one to sudden death, there is not much that consoles during this kind of trauma. Please welcome Christopher Noel, a teacher and author who lost his fiancée Bridget to a car accident in 1992. Christopher suffered her loss deeply and wrote a book as a catharsis for his grief. Welcome, Christopher.
Thank you very much.
And your book is just a beautiful book.
Thank you.
And I think it's a contribution to sudden, unexpected death. That's what we don't have a lot of literature on.
You know, we all have moods where we think that, that we might not see the ones we love in the next moment, that this could be the last moment. Moods where it feels like life is like a strobe light, and that you hope that things will continue, but you know you're pretty lucky, and you may be too lucky, things are too good to be true, and you kind of get into bad moods like that, and you fantasize about the possibility of something changing like that. But I found out it's no fantasy. She stood by our bed as she was leaving, and took a lot longer to look me over and to sort of take a picture of me in her mind than she usually did. I mean, she would always say goodbye, but even at that moment, I noticed that this was unusual. She was looking down at me and smiling, and it seemed she stayed there forever. I was trying to sleep. I kept thinking, go to work already. You know, and finally, I kind of woke up, and she looked down, and she was smiling, and she had such an appreciative look on her face. And then she went and 10 minutes later had
to take her to another hospital. That was literally the last look you had of her.
Right. They wheeled her past me, and I was about 8 feet away. And I thought of running over to her like they do on TV, you know, and stopping the gurney and touching her and saying things to her. But instead, I just froze there and looked at her face. And then they wheeled her on to the next hospital where they were trying to save her life.
But the early days, you said, were, in a sense, the easiest.
Well, they're kind of beautiful. You know, you feel as though, you feel in a certain sense privileged to be leaning up against one of the ultimate walls of existence. Here it is, death, you know, this famous thing that you, if you're like me, you'd never been close to before. And also, in a sense, I was never closer to Bridget than in the first few weeks after she died. I felt we were together in this great drama. And everything anyone said, my family and friends and her friends, seemed to be the most eloquent possible statement about love and life and losing a person. And everything I said seemed either very wise or emotionally true. And that kind of golden glow of significance stays around for a few weeks, and then it begins to drain away, and the wall, the ultimate wall, falls away, and Bridget kind of receded, and you're left with an endless succession of gray, empty days.
So everybody sort of goes away from you at
that. Well, I kind of sent them away. At a certain point, you can't anymore use their help. You just need to go into yourself. Sleeping and staring into space and feeling miserable like a worm twisting on a fish hook, or like an object that was paradoxically the emptiest and the heaviest object on the face of the earth. All kinds of images go through your head. It felt like there was a bomb in my chest which was about to explode. I was always on the cusp of it exploding, but it never quite would explode. But it was also a tender kind of soft bomb that needed my protection, because it was as though the accident scene was frozen in that bomb at the moment before impact, and I needed to try to help it not to happen.
And you want to cry, or you want to rage, and you can't get it out.
I couldn't, but Kafka says a book should be an axe for the frozen sea within us. And so I read books, and that helped me to cry, and eventually wrote a book, and that helped me to cry.
Carl Rogers once said, "The facts are friendly." When I was reading your book, I kept thinking of that, because it was very important for you to get every detail.
That's true, and it's a strange thing, and people on the outside of the experience don't quite ever understand what the impulse is to get back there. But that kind of sobbing where you feel your heart is being slammed against a wall, but somehow lovingly, something you just need to do, and you hunger for it. And sometimes people say, well, it really set me back, like seeing that picture or that video or reading that book set me back. You know, I was trying to make progress, but what I found is I needed to be set back and back and back, because I needed to combat the impulse to flee into that abstraction, into a sense that, oh, I'm better, you know, I can leave this behind, I can move on. And, you know, we all know people who get married too soon and they have to go back and re-grieve, they have a nervous breakdown. I was trying to lean into the actuality of the loss, and then sometimes I would need relief and lean out of it, like going on an adventure to Belize. Living for so many months in the kind of tomb-like atmosphere of the house that we shared together, I needed to break out. So I concocted this bizarre adventure of learning how to scuba dive and going to Belize, the Central American country, and walking around in the deep jungle, rainforest, and also scuba diving into a thing called the Blue Hole, which is a strange geological formation they have off the coast, a circular, huge hole about 1,000 feet in diameter and 500 feet deep.
Wow. And you had at one time slept with her shirt?
Yes, I slept with her shirt, not in a kinky way, but just in a loving
No, I want people to hear. No, this is a very common thing with grief, to touch the garments of the, I've got my father's shoes still.
There it is. It's again the struggle toward concreteness and not letting yourself forget, not letting yourself distance all those things. So I would sleep with her shirt and kind of cuddle it and touch the cuffs and different parts of it. And then I took it to Belize, and then I went for the dive into the Blue Hole, and it was very frightening because I was a beginning diver, and you're only supposed to be an advanced diver because you have to go 135 feet down and underneath a rock overhang, and you can panic easily, and then if you're diving, that can be...
But there's a sense of depth there, that you're going into the depth, into the heart, into the deepest place.
I was trying to sort of depart from the world in a similar way from how she departed from the world, even though you can think of it as ascending to heaven. I was trying to go someplace completely different, something outside of myself so utterly that I could sort of see myself anew.
And you let go of the shirt.
I took that same shirt with me and took it out of the pocket of my diving vest and fixed it up all nice and held it by the shoulders, folded over the collar, took my mouthpiece out of my mouth and kissed her collar and said goodbye to her and put it back and let it go. And I had tied some stones into the sleeve, and so I watched it sink away beneath into the deep violet light.
Wow.